some stuff go in here. I'm gonna leave it at full-size text. Alright, now you guys probably can't see right now, but what I'm going to do today is I'm sick of it going full screen all the time on this setup because it doesn't actually, like, it has the full screen's all messed up on when I'm just on this monitor. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go adjust my 4coder.bat to not have a full screen built in. And font size 13 is the default. Just curious how small it can go while still being readable on stream. It probably can't go very small. I don't know. But I get really tired of having the giant font that I can barely fit very many lines of code on the screen. I don't know. Hopefully that'll do. Yep, save those changes, take them back to 4coder. Let me double check that I am on the correct uh-oh. I made changes. Okay. I did some work that I forgot about, I guess. What changes did I even make? I'm not sure. Can I get like a diff? That didn't help. Yeah, I don't know how to use get. Alright, so actually I can see right now I'm adding this file here, this generated file, to my repository. I want to go add a git ignore on that folder. Test input scripts generated, git ignore star, what was it, not dot git ignore. Is that how I do that? Okay, so that's still in there. How do I get that out? How do I git remove? How does one use git? Alright, let me go ahead and take a quick stop here to tweet that we're streaming and check the chat. No one on the chat yet. That's fine. Okay. Alright, so I've done a tweet. I'm going to close Twitter. Hey, people in the chat. So printf Armin is suggesting I take a look at something called source tree. I'll take a look at that maybe. The Susie, I learned on my last stream that you can put git ignores under subfolders, and in that case I just wanted to ignore everything in that one folder, and that's a pretty easy way to make it happen. because I want to ignore everything in that folder, but I still want that folder to be synced. Like, I want the fact that there's a folder there to be synced, so that if I ever pull onto a new computer and then I run the thing that generates code into that folder, I don't want it to go, we can't find the generated folder and I have to go and make all my generated folders. I want my generated folders to be produced by the git pull, but I don't want any of the contents of those folders to actually go in there. So putting a git ignore in there and then just telling that git ignore to ignore everything in that folder turns out to be a nice way to do that. Alright. Alright, we're going to try git rm. What is the index? I've never heard of an index before. Well, let's try this. We're going to git rm test input scripts / generated / gen test caps stress. I forget how that's supposed to be. Cap stress s1, cap stress 1 for is. Okay, so remove isn't what I want. Alright, here's another option. I can delete that file. Shit. Shit. Gotta use backslashes. Alright, now if I add the changes, it won't be there. Now I need to run the generator again to make sure. So let me look at my commands real quick. Generate tests, build tests. Okay, we're going to try that. Generate tests. So, generated is still there. I'm going to close that. So there's the generated. It's in the folder. And I'm going to try to add. It still got added back. No, it didn't. That's just the git ignore. Alright, good. So that's working. And then we can do, what exactly did I change? This is like so many changes I can't even tell what exactly is in this commit. Dunno. Stuff about tests or whatnot. I forget now. There we go. That will do just fine. Alright, so now we've got kind of clear the screen. That's all irrelevant. Yeah, we have a lot of cool stuff to work on today. Cap stressors, that's what those are, okay. So I want to start with this stuff. I'm going to expand the scripting language a little bit. I'm going to set a default wait timers because if you take a look at our generated thing right here, I'm waiting after pretty much everything, right? And so I might as well just set a default wait that always applies, and then the only way that you can just have a command that changes that, and then it gets inserted after every command silently, so that this can be half as many lines plus one. Insabot says the audio is good, I guess. Okay. Kinda good to know. Alright, so let's take a look at this. First of all, what command am I talking about today? Build metadata, build tests, I believe, is the one I need. Test builder, yeah, so F7. And then, so I want, what's the name of my script? Builder code test builder. Okay. That reminds me, at some point, I think when I wrap up these 4coder testing streams, I also want to get back onto cranking out those C lessons. I might do an extra stream every week for that, like on Saturdays or on Wednesdays or something. But I'd really like to make an upgrade to my string library, and I don't know exactly how I want to go about it, because I have a lot of ambitions for a string library that I can use everywhere. But ignoring that for now, where are my control words? Def weight. Require an integer. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say default time increment equals increment, right? All right. Time counter. Where is my time counter set up? Yeah, so this is also where I'm going to set up a default time increment. We'll define it as 1 to begin with, because that's what I probably use most of the time. And then, should I set it as 0 so that you have to set a def weight 1 at the beginning of each file just to mark it? That might be good. Yeah, actually gonna set that to 0. Just better. Now, time counter. The next thing I have to think about is how do I want to apply that default increment? Because, like, after a wait, I shouldn't apply it. It should only be after things that emit an event. So, wait, there, I have a flag for that, a boolean for that already. So if I'm emitting an event, I emit it, and then time counter plus equals default time increment. After a type instruction, I'm going to do one default increment there as well, I think. Well, it's hard to say. I think what I should actually do is say, if j plus 1 is less than type string size, then we will do this, because that's inserting a step between each type character, but the one that goes at the end should be how big the default time increment is, not how big the type step is. So we'll do it that way. Now, after an invoke, we won't do this. We will trust the invoke to have put in the appropriate amount of sleep time, I think. Well, well, the only thing I don't want is I don't want to have like several layers of invoke where each one has inserted an extra wait step so that you end up with a bunch of superfluous waits everywhere. Yeah, I'll let the the invoked file be in charge of how much time it waits afterwards, and I'll manually input a wait if it's not enough. Of course, the last event it puts out, maybe that's wrong now that I think about it. Time counter. We shift all of those up, and then we take that. I'm actually going to put this right here, default time increment. Okay. Oops, didn't mean to build that. Okay. So now, when I do this, it runs my tests, right? Yeah. This will go on forever. I don't have any way of manually closing this, do I? I have to, like, task manager it. Which one? That's the next question. Ah, shit, stop that. I wish there was a way to bring up the window for one of these things. So I have two different ones. What about this way? Ah, here we go. This is the way to do it. Okay, so that wasn't pretty. I have to set up a way to kill these things while they're running so that I don't get trapped like that all the time. You add wait to def wait then. No, that's not the idea. Def wait isn't like that's not the way I want to think about it. It's an incrementer. It's like an accumulator, not a property that attaches to the next command or the previous command. It's like wait doesn't modify the commands before and after it. It's just a command of its own that increments the counter, and def wait is just a thing that says increment when we're emitting events that aren't already directly controlling the wait, like the wait thing. Then do plus def wait. But I don't want to try to like have one command set up that that influences the meaning of the following command. That's not really how it works. It's just an accumulator thing. If I want to have a thing that's like, hey, I want to override the default of 1 down to 0 or something, then that just means I turn the default wait back to 0 beforehand. I think I realized last time when we were talking about this that you and I, or whoever was proposing this idea, and I weren't understanding each other, because that was my plan all along. I don't really want to try to do complex stuff where I carry over the state from the previous command into one more to the next one. It's just not as easy to implement. Trying to keep it... yeah, it's not exactly default wait. There might be a better name for it. That's true. Let's think about that for a minute. So instead of default time increment, let's call this standard time increment. Let's call this, yeah. And then instead of def wait, I'll call this base wait. That's a good name for it. I keep hitting F1. I really want to make a thing that lets me rebind these more easily, but for now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start doing this. So I'm running this command on F1 now. Reload the project. There we go. So now I can build my tests. I want to go and see how that build test script actually looks. Yeah, so it's listing these. Now let's, while I'm doing this, let's grab generate tests and put it on F2. Let's go to the test generator and clean it up a little bit and see if this works. So I'm going to take out all of these. And then before I start it, whoops, what was that? Did I do that? I think I did. I want one base weight of 1 right here. Alright, so that means this now looks like this. Half as many lines, which is nice. I've just realized that after all this sort of thinking and planning about the testing system running through the input system, I totally forgot that I'm planning to redo the input system in some period of time from not too long from now. Maybe by the end of the year. Well, we'll just deal with that change when it comes. Oh well, I totally forgot. I didn't even cross-reference this because it's been so long since I changed the input system that on the one hand I was planning to change it, and on the other hand I built a test system dependent on it not changing. And I never cross-referenced those two different threads of thought until just now. Oh well. So, yeah, now I can do those things. What is my run regression test? We'll put you on 3. That didn't work. Now I gotta do this shit again. Probably this one. Perfect. Alright. So why didn't I guess I have to regenerate my test first, and then build it, and then run it? Hey, there we go. So, that is working. That's real nice because that makes the output, twice as fast. Um, so, do I want to work on making spaces typable first, or let's look at that generated, yeah, test. How often do I end up having to manually switch between typing? And then I key that, so it would just be int foo0 equals zero semicolon, and then I would key a new line. And so that would look like that. That would look like that. And so on. It would make this much, much shorter. So to do that, I'm going to work on that part next. Test builder. So the way we have to change this is when we get a type command right now, we get the integer and then the unquoted string. But I think what I actually want is something different there that's like unquoted multi-string or something. Unquoted multi-string, which would let me get all of that is one string, yeah. So that, okay, there. Boom. Unquoted string. Now let's see how this works out. We get a line parse context. Start index. And then string out. And the goal here is at first it's going to look kind of like this. Index is less than the number of those. So yeah, we start that far, but we're not going to actually output that string yet. Because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to say, alright, how many of these are there? Right? No. Right, so what we want to do is we want to say, okay, so there's the start of the string. We want to update the size of the string to go all the way to the end of the last word. So, Why am I using I32 and bool32 together? Why am I not using B32 and I32 or bool32 and int32t? I think I did a bad job of figuring out which, whether or not I was shipping this to users is what happened there. But anyway, point is then I can set the string out to this string. Start index. I don't pass the context as a pointer. Got it. Alright, so I get the multi-string. And that just consumes everything else on the line. Now let me try and I'm going to reload this. And let me just go to the generator. And right now the way the generator works is it manually keys each space. I'm going to say instead, let's do that. And then we'll throw in that. Type that space. Throw in that. I'll type that space. Throw in that. And then manually key the new line. Alright, so that appears to have worked. And now our test is only 64 lines long. Alright, so you can see I've got this quite a bit shorter. One thing I still need to do is key the new line. Why am I keying a new line right here? Oh, that's to go to. Okay. So one thing I'm still got to do is actually run this real quick. Alright, cool. So that condenses how much work it takes to set up one of these script generator things quite a bit. It also shortens the scripts considerably. The next thing I can do to shorten this script some more, and the point of doing all this script shortening is that if I'm going to generate a lot of these, generating less text and then later ingesting that text to do the data generation will just be faster. Now, I was thinking this through, and arguably it would have been smarter, it would be better maybe if I hadn't generated the tests through the scripts, but rather just generated the data directly. But the problem is the scripts have nice features built in like type that I would then have to recreate in a sort of virtual way where I can call a procedure that does the typing instead of just being able to rely on the already existing version of type that's in the script version. So the only way to make that real clean would be to pull out the thing that generates the data in the scripting language and make that a library that I can rely on from the test generator, and then generate the test data instead of the generating test scripts at all. And that would be better, but it's a big change from the way it's currently structured, and I'm a little torn on whether or not I want to go down that road. Just because it means more work on getting things right. Really, it's honestly worth it to get these things right. Because then I could also do things like when I'm doing these, the new line would get folded in. Well, it wouldn't even be generating this like lines anymore. It'd be like I'd have a call that's like type 1 and then a string with the new line in the string. And since C already has quoted strings, it'd be actually easier to use the library to generate this than the scripting language at that point. It also does like one less fprintf, like one less series of fprintfs and freads, right? It just cuts out one whole step of the process for these generated tests, which is nice. The only downside is I have to libraryify a system that wasn't originally written that way, so that it can be called from two different places. I don't know, but I feel like it's worth it. The other thing I give up is invoke. Like libraryifying invoke would be not impossible either, I guess. Now that I think about it. It also means I would run gen tests after running build scripts, so I'd run all the builds for manually written scripts that are manually written, so that I can just open up a script file and change my tests easily without building any C code that generates it. And then for the things that do the generation for the heavier weight stuff that I don't want to script, I would have the C code, so I would build my scripts into the data, and then I would generate the tests directly into data, generate more tests directly into data. That way, the generated things are always able to invoke the handwritten things, but not vice versa. Or the other way around, but I kind of have to choose one way or the other. I can't mix and match, which is unfortunate. Although I can't mix and match now either, without doing some kind of clever reordering of dependencies that I don't really want to get into. Well, as I do this, I'm still making the scripts easier to write, so I'm going to continue doing it this way for now, and then once I feel like I've done about as much as I want to do to make the scripts that I'm generating small, I will then probably go ahead and take the scripts out of the test generator entirely and try to library up the data output streams, and then just skip the script step. Well, I don't know, I really like having the scripts too when I'm doing the generation pass, because having these scripts lets me go and read what I generated. It makes it readable. So I'm actually going to stick with the scripts now that I've considered that. That part is worth it. Yeah, we'll stick with the scripts. So for anyone who doesn't understand the trade-off I just decided on, it's a little bit slower to do this because the way I'm doing this is I generate this text, and then I have a scripting system that reads that text and generates the data. And I was considering going straight to the data, but the one thing that I think just swayed me as I was considering this is right now when I generate a test, I can read what I generated. It's readable, and I can go, the reason this is failing is because here these events happen in this order, and I have to go and read my generator code and figure out why I'm generating it in the wrong order and fix it. If I'm generating things in the wrong order, or I'm generating the wrong things, or I'm not generating in any way exactly what I expect that I'm generating, but I don't have this text intermediate, it'll make it much harder for me to find out what exactly went wrong by just inspecting some output, because the output will be not readable. Now, an alternative would be that I could have the test generator work both ways, where I can set it to generate, the generation library has several layers, and so one layer would be generating the data, and then another layer would wrap that and have a flag set in its context or something that lets me switch it to generating scripts, and then I can just say, alright, generate the scripts versions for this so that I can inspect them for debugging, and then I'd be like, there's the bug, fix it, and then generate the data when I'm actually using it. That would be very clever. Problems that could come up with there include I now can't do things where in the library part, am smarter than what the scripts can do. I have to be able to match one-to-one what a script can do. That's not that big of a deal, though, because I'm already making that trade-off on the current path anyway. The other thing it means is if I end up with a bug in the thing that tries to do both, like one of them thinks it's generating a key, but the other, like in the data I'm generating a key, but in the script I generate something different, or whatever, then I'm in a really bad spot because I'm generating debug viewing information that is incorrect and therefore misleading, making the problem worse, not better. Now, I'm not really convinced that I would have that much trouble keeping those things straight, because there's close to a one-to-one correspondence between most of this. The only thing I couldn't exactly do, I guess, would be like the data doesn't actually have things like wait or invoke in it, but I wouldn't need it to. I would just have the calls be doing that. So I'm basically, on the one hand, I'm making calls that simulate the generation directly, and the other hand, I generate the script that would have, on ingest, led to those same calls, just so I can inspect the series of calls that I made to the library. And the calls literally are just a C version of the scripting commands. I don't feel like that's that hard to get right. And then I could have the best of both worlds. A debug view of the scripts when things go wrong, and direct to data when I want things to be fast. On the other hand, nothing is slow right now, so I won't do that yet. I'll do that if I start noticing slowness. But I'll keep that in mind as something I plan to do in the future, so I don't make any decisions that prevent it. So, alright, having considered that, let's get back onto working things out. One thing I can do here to make this much smaller is, right now, 4coder doesn't have any way to say copy this current file to a new file somewhere else. Like copy the buffer I'm on and save it to this new name. And I kind of want that feature. Now, it used to have a save as. I got rid of it because it was not working well and was constantly was constantly the source of bugs, so I got rid of it. But I feel like if I didn't try to implement it inside the core, I could pretty easily make a command on the custom layer that does that correctly. And then instead of doing this, which is basically, let's see, open this file. So I open the file I want to run the test on. I open it. I set my mark. I go to the bottom of the file. I copy the file. I kill that buffer. I then say, let's open another file. I go back one directory. I then type in output/small.cpp. So I'm taking the name of the file I opened and I'm moving it to a different directory. And then I'm saying, create that file. I set my mark again. I go to the bottom. I delete whatever was in it. I paste whatever I have on my clipboard. I switch my cursor to where the mark is at the top. I set the mark to the top, and then I go to the line I want, and there. I finish going to the line, and I start the actual test. All I really want to have to do here is something more like I open my file, boom, and then I'm going to hit one key that's like whatever my save as is. I'll just say do like copy to, right? And then it'll query me for a name. I'll type output small.cpp, and it copies that file there. And then I guess I kill the file that I'm on, and I switch to. I then do the kill buffer still, and then I open this. So I would have to type that twice, which would be a little bit slower. This is actually a pretty fast way to do it. The only thing I could do better is if the copy to automatically killed the current buffer and opened that one. It's a command that I want sometimes in real life too, so it's not really a waste of time to implement it. How long has this part of the stream been? Going on 44 minutes. Alright, so let's try to implement that command in custom real quick. Let's see. I'm not sure what file this will belong in. Are we in base commands kinds of stuff here? Save all dirty buffers. Where exactly? Take me to default and include real quick. When I do something like rename file query, where is that defined? Base commands, rename file query. Make directory query. So here's what we're going to do. Custom command sig copy file query. So what this one does is it queries the user for a new name and copies the file and saves the contents of the current save to and contents of the current buffer altering the buffer's name to. There we go. So it's going to look kind of like this. So here it requires that I actually am bound to a file. I don't think we actually need that this time. If we manage to copy this, then we continue. Again, we don't need the current file name. We get a query user bar. That we do need. So let's do that part. Oops, there we go. Query the user. We'll make a bar. We fill out the prompt with I need the buffer's name here. Make space for a new file name. We set that as the bar's whoops, did it twice. We set that as the bar's string, so here's the prompt, there's the string. If we get a good string back from the user and they didn't abort, then we will go ahead and then let's see what happens here. So here I am saving the buffer to the new file name. Alright, and there I'm getting the current path of that file, but that's not actually what I want in this one. In this one I would take the hot directory for my path, and then I would append the new name of the file, and then I would do save buffer new file name, ignore dirty flag. Now save buffer is that is that on my docs here, save buffer, there it is. Yeah, okay. So we will do basically that. Create buffer. What is that doing? Take me to the buffer create flags. Just change for one buffer. is set, it indicates that the file to load has just been saved in the same frame, and a change notification for the file should be ignored. Okay. Yeah, so we would set that and that. We would do that to create the buffer. Well, what this is basically doing is it's saying when I do this, I'm saving that buffer to this file, but I'm not actually changing the buffer I've got. So what I would then want to do is I wouldn't delete file base. So what that does is, yeah, it deletes the file and then kills the buffer. I would just kill the buffer and not delete the file, and then create the new buffer on the one that we just saved to, and then view set. Okay. So save blank. We still need to get that. Get the namespace there, and then alright, so we don't want this. What we want is directory get hot. This character buffer is filled with the 4coder hot directory, specifies the capacity and bytes of the out buffer. The length of the hot directory is string, whether or not it was successfully copied into the out buffer. This call. Greater than or the return size. Greater than or equal to the return size, maybe, Alan? Jeez. Okay, let me go fix that real quick. Where's my API implementation? Is greater than or equal to the return size. Someday I gotta get like some kind of, well, I wouldn't, spell check wouldn't have even caught that. I don't know. I do not know what I could do about that crap. But anyways, with the doc fixed right there, yeah, directory get hot is what I want, and it returns size there. So okay, yep, I remember how to use these APIs now. The way you're supposed to do it is you go, okay, my new file name dot size gets that appended. I take the app. I take new file name dot string plus its current size, and then I take new file name dot memory size minus the new file name size for the capacity. So that gives it the beginning of this part of the string that we can actually fill, the remaining capacity of the string, and then it adds the what fit into there. And whether or not it was successfully copied into the output buffer. So if it was unsuccessful, how would I ever know? I guess I just don't know. Not great. Alright. Right, so the better way to do this would be new size equals boom, boom, if, or if, yeah, so what we want to do is we want to look at, can I fit that on here, and if so, we do that. Okay. It's less than or equal to that. Header size, file name size plus, so I take the current size plus the number of bytes we need, and if that fits, then I go ahead and do it, and I'll just make everything else contingent upon that. I really got to fix the API. I can't wait to finish up 4.0x and focus on fixing these things. Okay. So we've got the hot directory at the base of this thing, and then what we want to do is we want to append that string. We've got that there. I don't know if the slash will come with this or not, but anyway, if we get to this point and we can successfully terminate that, we'll see if we need to. We might need to append onto the new file name a backslash or a slash, I guess. But I don't know if we'll need that, so I'll comment it out for now and put it in if we need it. Now, terminate with null if that succeeds, which I should really rewrite all of these shits to actually like check all this correctly. I'm such a sloppy programmer back in the day. Back into like 4 months ago when I wrote this, probably. Maybe 6, I don't know. Well, it was November. Yeah, 4 or 5 months ago. I don't know what comes over me to not just do things correctly. Anyway, so if I'm going ahead, I grab the new buffer, right? I want to kill the old buffer, right? So I need to start with the save. Can I save this buffer? So I try to save the current buffer. I have the new file name, string, and size. Actually, I suppose I actually don't need to be contingent on whether the terminate works. Yeah, it's probably a good plan though. It looks like I'm passing in the size, and the terminate will only succeed if everything else has fit. It actually means that there's one less byte because the terminator doesn't actually technically need to fit. But there's no easier way, I don't think, to like wrap up and ask, did everything fit so far, than that. Well, that's not even true, because it could be, well, that definitely fits. Append will try to append as much as possible. If it doesn't fit, it'll fail. But still append as much as possible. So, really, I think what I'm actually going for here is more like this. Am I right? We'll find out. So if we can append this on there still, then we say, all right, buffer save, ignore dirty flag. Yeah, so let's go back to save buffer. Alright, I specify the buffer I want saved. Yes. Yes. I specify the file name and its length. And then the flags. And I'm saying ignore if the fact that this might not be dirty. Okay, that's all correct. So then, what do I want to do? I want to kill the current buffer. We don't actually care if this fails. We'll just ignore it if it fails. Buffer identifier, we can get that from buffer.bufferid. View ID, we can get that from view.viewid. The buffer is dirty. Now hold on. Is there a way to ignore that option? Yes, always kill. That's what I thought. Alright. So kill flag, always kill. Indicates the buffer should be killed without asking, even when the buffer is dirty. Yeah, that's what I want. So that will kill it and it won't query. And then with the buffer killed, we're free to create the new buffer. By loading out the current file name, which we know has been saved successfully, and we say don't ever make new buffers this way. If we can't load it, then just give up. And also, this file just got changed, so mark it as expecting a change notification that was caused by us. Okay, that's good. And then finally we do set the buffer. So we take the current view and we put the buffer, if we got one, into there. So I guess that's when we should actually check for success, though. Can this thing not fail? I guess this would be a case where it can fail, and I haven't specified that in the doc because I suck. So, I think that's the name, although let's just go look up the buffer summary real quick. Exists, that's what I was looking for. So if we actually got back one, then we go ahead and set that. We'll do the kill in here too, so we only kill the buffer, the old buffer, if we successfully created the new one, I guess. And we want to watch out, because if we just happen to be getting back the same buffer we were already on, then this kill buffer would actually close the buffer we just created, so we want to make sure we're not getting back the exact same buffer before we do these steps. Okay, so to go through it again, we fill the new name. If all of that fits, then we try to save the current buffer out to that name, and then we try to load that buffer that we just saved. These kinds of things could be done better, but this works. And then we say, alright, if the new buffer exists, then we check if this is actually a different buffer from the one we had originally, and if it is, we kill the old one and put this new one into the view where the old one was. And now let's see if we have any build problems there. Oh! Pop those down there real quick so I can run my main build. Alright, what did we get wrong? Ah, we still need to figure out the name of the buffer. So, let's see. Buffer name length. That's what I'm looking for. We want to make a string from buffer dot buffer name len. Right, we don't use i32 here, we use int32t. Kill buffer cannot convert argument 2 from int32 to buffer identifier. Right, buffer identifier is a little more complicated than that. buffer identifier. I think I just wrap that in buffer identifier like that to get what I want. There we go. Okay, so let's see if that works. We're going to run it from the debugger, and I have to make sure that I'm not running any weird test shit. Okay, we're good. I'm going to make the fonts bigger for y'all people. Alright. So now, what we want to do is we want to see if we can load small.cpp, and we're going to try, I haven't, shit. I have to pick a binding for this still. So let's go to metagen, bind, there we go. So, let's see. So Control-Shift-S, save all dirty buffers. Control-S, I assume, is save. Here, this one is not bound to there being a particular buffer, and this one is determined by which buffer is up. I just need to think of a key command that isn't used. So how about, let's see, save as. Where would I put that? I could put it on Alt-S is taken. I don't really want to use Control-W. I want to reserve that for the other things. T is kind of heavily overloaded already. What about A? Replace in range. That's the only way A is being used right now, I guess. Replacing all buffers on the other bindings, though. Alright, if I'm going to use an S, what's available? Little s on both Alt and Control is taken. Big S on Control is taken. But I guess big S on Alt is not taken. So let's go to that one. I could really get rid of the show scroll bar command and make that something different too, like Alt-Shift-W would be better. Yeah, that would be useful, like a list of my unused bindings. I'm planning on making like a generic sort of bindings viewer editor thing someday before I retire the current engine completely, so we might mess with that kind of stuff sometime this year. But point is, I'm going to rebind this to W like this, because right now the only things using W are those. And that frees up little s Alt, which is what I actually want to use right here. Whoops, this is the wrong doohickey. Yeah, this dude. Save to query. And then we'll go track down that other guy down here. Control. Okay. Save to query. So now when I run that, I should get this. Okay. Let's take small.cpp and Alt S. Alt S. Nothing. No luck. Alright, so that makes me ask what happened. Yeah, modifier alt does get saved to query. So then the question becomes, why isn't saved to query working? Let's take a quick look here. Small Alt S. Not sure. I'm not sure. Oh, do you know what's happening? It's using yeah, Alt Shift isn't great. In general, I try not to combine multiple modifiers too much, so like that's why I'm avoiding putting capital S Alt as an option. Yeah, the 4coder input stuff has to change before I retire this engine, but I want to see, can I get it to build right now it's building power. I don't want power right now. For where is this? Okay, build super. Where is this thing? There it is. Experiments. I want default. Alt S. Okay. Now the only problem becomes I'm on the wrong directory, kind of, and so I have to actually go, before I save to, I have to go O, boom, output, boom, escape, and then I can do Alt S save to small.cpp, boom. Out max. Capacity of 0. Yo! Dog! Why you do me this way? Alright, so alright, let's fix that. API implementation. Alan doesn't know how to write APIs that he implements without bugs. Gotta be able to query the link without it crashing, dude. What were you thinking? Alright, so that's all gotta happen. There. What we're gonna do is we're gonna say, okay, I'm bringing in a capacity. Copy max is the amount I'm allowed to copy out, because I can't put the null terminator there. If the copy max is greater than so if capacity comes in and we get okay. So what we really just need to be able to do is say, look, the capacity, we can only do all this work if the capacity is greater than 0. Then we'll go ahead and do this stuff, because then this can be 0 or greater, and this will be allowed. If this comes in and it's not at least positive, then there is no out to actually write to, and none of this is correct no matter what. So there we go. Are we running a test, or what's the stitch over here, 4coder? Come on. There we go. And so now the question I have is, what are open? Okay, just this guy's open. Yeah. And that's cool. So that works, which means let's go back to our test generator now. Let's go to here. Gonna reconfigure the project, go to test generator. Now, right now, in order to do this, we call this function and it does all this. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to open the file we want, open it. We don't do this, we don't do this, we don't do this, we do this. We hit backspace and we type in output slash new line, and then we hit escape unmodified, and that brings us to where we need to be. Then we're going to hit S with an Alt, and that sets us up for let's see. We're going to take this, get rid of that, and we're just going to type small.cvp like that, and then we're going to type a new line, and with that we should be back to working. You're right, no new line, because I put the slashing manually, so I just want to hit escape at that point. Good catch, Flying Solomon. Okay. So that is a nice, tighter way to copy files over, I think. And I don't want to type small.cvp directly, I want %s. So that lets me pull out of the place where I start, one file, switch over to the output folder, and then save it into there, automatically saving over whatever I've got and making a new buffer for it. Okay. Let's try and generate that. Let's try and build it. Let's try and run it. Alright. Interesting. I want to double check that that's in the right folder real quick. And the way we can do that is non-source test data output. I'm going to delete that, and we're going to take a quick check at sample files, small.cvp. Okay, so that didn't get saved, but my script doesn't save anyway. Let's just run that again, because I'm not convinced it's opening an output, because I should see the name output right here based on the way the save to new file thing works. Yeah, so that's not actually working. What we need to do is generator base weight. We're going to slow this down, and then we can hopefully watch it. So generate the tests, build them, run them. Small.cpp slash. No. Alright, do that one more time. I can't actually see what it's doing because of that damn panel there. End that process. Okay, so let me think. In order to make that better, what I want to do is I want to see what it's doing. I just need to tell it to before it does anything else, please key a capital P with a control modifier. Oops. Generate, build, run. Small.cpp, output, enter, small.cpp slash. It appears to be failing to create the file because it's putting that slash on the small.cpp, and that seems to be the only problem. So let's take a quick peek at why it's doing that. So let's look at the output script. Yeah, there's a slash in there. Did I really put a slash in there? %s. Yeah, I guess I did. Alright. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Now it's doing the right thing. And we should see over here. Yeah, okay. So and that base weight can drop that back down to 1, and now I'll have it saved too before it exits. Let's generate the test, build it, run it. Alright, now we can go over here and inspect that and make sure that we got, hey, so there we go. Now we can generate test output from a test like this, and it'll let us compare against something in a canonical folder so that we can start doing content correctness tests as well as assertion tests. Getting pretty close to being able to do that kind of thing. Let's go to the to-do list. So yeah, we made spaces typable. We did some other stuff to where is that? I guess I didn't have a to-do list item for this, but let's just throw in that item so I can check it real quick. Save to file command. Alright, so we built a new command, we got it working, we started using it as a part of our testing system, so we tested it actually works using the testing system, and now the testing system is relying on it. And next up, what we want to do is start looking at generating some of this stuff on the next stream. So I'm going to wrap it up for now, take a break for lunch, take a break for my voice, and so on. I will be back for another round of this kind of stuff. We'll work on after generating, we're going to generate more than one test. We're going to generate smaller tests that actually hit a bunch of possible things. we might look at generating these lists that build the things, although we have to see if we need to. We're kind of set up right now to be okay, but maybe we start wanting to have lots of tests that we're running, and we want a way to put them in a series and run them all like one after the other. So yeah, we'll start looking at this sort of autogenning the scripts that run tests and stuff, and making more tests to actually run on the next stream. Thanks for coming around, folks, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye-bye.